Well, jury deliberations in the Trump hush money trial have wrapped for the day after a little more than 4 hours and some requests for the judge. The 12 members of the jury are deliberating 34 felony counts.
Hearing testimony from 22 witnesses in the course of a little over 5 weeks. WGN political analyst Paul Lisnek joining us now, also a trial consultant and jury expert.
Yes, indeed, years.
So 4 hours and exactly 37 minutes.
Right.
But they rang the bell, as they say, when they have a question. One of them, they wanted to hear instructions again. Is that normal? They heard them this morning, and they have no written down of the
right.
Of
so
the
first of all, they actually did ring a bell. There is a bell.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I know. That's what I said. They rang the bell.
Right. So they didn't get the instructions, which is New York law. I mean, like here in Cook County and other places, the jury gets the instructions. They take it with them, and they can answer questions. We'd have all the reasons we would all want to allow them to do it. New York law doesn't allow it. It's just the way it is. So at the end of the day, they said to the judge, we need you to read the instructions. They're clarifying. I think they're still clarifying. Do you mean you want me to read all 53 pages to you again? Or are we just reading certain things? So the jurors are gone now for the day, but the lawyers are trying to figure out what the judge needs to read. But of course, they're asking for it, Micah, because, and we've all seen jury instructions,
confusing?
They are complicated.
Yeah.
And, to say good luck, jurors, I hope you took notes, but, you're on your own now. No, that's very difficult for the jurors.
Why does New York still have that kind of law?
Well, they have other laws, which is the jury doesn't select their foreperson, which would probably be one of the two lawyers. It's whoever's in chair number one is the foreperson. These are just New York states and procedures. Here's the good news. With regard to what the jury is asking, they are showing that they are at least getting it and they're on track. I mean, they didn't come out and say, I don't mean to be funny with this, but say, what kind of movies did Stormy Daniels make? What was it? In which case the lawyers would go, what? What are you talking about? They came out and asked about those initial meetings with David Pecker and Michael Cohen. They're looking at the right things as they render their process and decision.
Wondering how long it's going to take to actually get to a verdict, but this is the only trial of the four, most likely, that will happen before the November election. What happens in the event of a guilty verdict here?
Well, the process will go on. It's not as though there will be things that happen. If there's a guilty verdict, he'll have to be processed, and technically the judge could set up a sentencing date, but we know an appeal would be coming. So if there is a guilty verdict and there are appeals, for any of that stuff to happen prior to November, just not going to be the case. I think it'll be easy enough for the Trump team to push everything along, but who knows? Judge Marchand not playing games, so he may set a sentencing date. I mean, we'll see. That's if there is if there's a guilty verdict. There's 34 counts, which means 34 verdicts. So when that time comes, and if we're all tracking that, literally we're going to have 34s hung, guilty or not guilty, and we'll see which way the jury goes. Won't surprise me if it's a mixture.
And he's the one who decides what the punishment would be in the event of guilty.
Well, ultimately the judge will decide the sentencing, but it's not just him, and that will come after a process of both sides rendering their request, where the defense will say he should get nothing, and the prosecution will probably push for more of an extreme. But it's not going to be that much anyway. We're not talking about. I don't think Donald Trump is going to see jail time from this particular situation, no matter what happens. But the question is whether or not being convicted of a felony is something that voters will be impacted on. That's the political process. And we're waiting to see whether once this verdict is over, whatever happens, will President Biden step out and speak to it? I think he probably will, one way or another.
Since you're such a jury analyst, what's going through their minds right now? They're home now, they'll come back at 9:30 tomorrow, and they still have to figure out, the lawyers, what transcripts they're going to let them read as far as Cohen and Pecker are concerned. Well, so what's going on in their minds right now?
Well, a couple things. Number one, some of them are probably home saying, I'm taking a break from this. Let me just not watch about the trial, but let me just watch some movies or do something to take a break. Others might be mulling things over. But to be honest, the judge basically instructs them, the time to deal with the evidence in this case is when you're together in this jury room. Don't come back tomorrow and say, I figured it out as I was thinking all night. So if they're doing what they should be doing, they should just be taking a night off and having a nice dinner and not talking about the case and relaxing. Many are thinking about it. I think they understand the pressure that's on them. They know the whole country, if not the world, is watching to see what happens here, which is why I think they will take time. I think no matter what, we probably get a verdict by the end of the week, because jurors...
You said it.
By the end of Friday, because jurors typically, if they can do it, they don't want to go deal with it over the weekend. But I will promise you that even if they're done in the morning of Friday, they will stay for lunch before they tell us what the verdict is. They do. They just
get everything they can.
Get the free meal before you go.
Trump did say after after deliberations that even Mother Teresa wouldn't be able to beat these charges. I mean, does that signal to you that he thinks he's going to be guilty?
Well, I don't think Mother Teresa would have found herself in this particular situation in any way, shape, or form. But that being said, look, the president wears his feelings on his sleeve, right? And in his tweets or his,
How does he play
his
poker?
truths, he's probably not a great poker
Okay.
player when you think about it, because we can often read what he's saying. So does he feel? I think what he feels, Ray, is the pressure of it all. And I'm sure he's up all night worrying about what if. But listen, I would be surprised if his kids and everybody surrounding him isn't basically saying, whatever happens, you're going to be okay. And I do think politically, we'll talk about it when the time comes, he will spin this. He will make a way, no matter what that verdict is, to work for him politically, because he's got great power to do it.
Paul Lisnek, thanks so much.
Thank you, guys. We'll
see
keep
you
an eye
later.
on it for you.
Okay, yeah, we'll be monitoring
Okay.
all the activity from the courtroom once the deliberations go back on tomorrow morning. And when a verdict is reached, we will bring it to you live on air and online. And you can also get breaking news updates anytime by downloading the WGN News app.